It's always great to connect with the people reviewing our products and hear what you have to think. Yeah, so I've been with Lenovo for this. I'm almost done with my 24th year. So actually, I came to Lenovo from the outdoor industry, but I've always had a passion for technology. I love technology, right? So I've been 24 years. I spent 12 years working in the region. So I worked in North America. I ran our ThinkPad business in North America. I also ran our accessories business in North America. And then in 2012, I came over to the worldwide role, and I've done a couple of jobs. I was director of operations and cost management, and then for the last 10 years, I've had the good fortune to be director of product management for ThinkPad, right? So my team, I work with the team that we define the requirements for ThinkPad, and my team specifically is the one that brings them to market every year, right? So we work together as one team to define, work with the development teams, and then bring them to market every year. It's an amazing dream job. I still sometimes I wonder how I got here, but yeah, it's a good gig.
Lenovo's ThinkPad, you could pretty much say it's iconic, and it's been around for a long time at this point. So with its storied history, like how would you say its history has affected what it looks like and what it offers today?
Yeah, well, it's a long, and I will use right. It's a rich history. Actually, I wore my ThinkPad 30th anniversary T-shirt today on purpose, right? And that was 2 years ago. So, I mean, we go back to 1992, and I think your question was about the design and what ThinkPad stands for, and right. I mean, so ThinkPad, the whole design was really imagined off of a bento box, right? So the original ThinkPad design was this purposeful iteration of personal technology that came out of this really simple, elegant bento box design, right? It's a real purposeful, design in Japan, but it's also very elegant at the same time. And so, our designers kind of took that concept and they've essentially run with it for the last 32 years. And we're very fond of making automobile analogies, right? And I think Porsche is the one that we like to use the most. Is we've taken this design and tried to evolve it over time, off of a concept, a purposeful concept, which black and square with the iconic, I would say, ThinkPad track point, the red dot in the middle, and evolve that over time. I think that's kind of our philosophy is it's purposeful, and we've got a design element, and we always want it to be continuous throughout our development, not static. I mean, it's always evolving, but we want to be able, just like with a Porsche, to look at a Porsche and see some connection back to the very first Porsche that was made, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Same thing with ThinkPad. I think that's really, really important to us, especially for sustaining the brand, right? And I think that's part of our success, to be honest. Yeah. That makes sense?
Uh, yeah, it makes sense. So, like you just mentioned, right? There are certain iconic aspects of the ThinkPad that you want to maintain. So, as and when like new technology comes along, or let's say when you talk about the durability and the reliability of the ThinkPad, so what are the main principles that guide how you say design a new ThinkPad while also, trying to maintain the essence of the ThinkPad, but also trying to like stay with the times? It's like how do you
Yeah.
prioritize?
Yeah. It's a it's a really simple answer. It's a really complex in execution, but it's actually a really simple answer. We have something called the ThinkPad core tenets, right? So there's three core tenets, right? So it's relentless innovation, purposeful design, back to the bento box, and then trusted quality, right? So it's always those three things. And then there's a fourth one that we layer underneath. It's like a foundation, which I would say is industry leading security, right? So you've got to have innovation. It's got to be purposeful, right? We only do something for a very specific reason. And then it's got to be durable. So this idea of trusted quality, which I think that's our customers, when they think of us, they think of trusted quality. and then security, right? So especially as a commercially focused brand, it has to be secure. I mean, so I would say those are the core tenets. And then the other thing I'll say is that everything we do, we start with the customer, right? So we think, what is the customer in mind, right? So having those tenets, that the product will represent those tenets, and then what are we trying to accomplish for the customer, right? So it always starts with the customer. Yeah.
Right. So, speaking of the customers, so uh, I think I had spoken to Dilip Bhatia as well from Lenovo,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
had spoken about so like taking that approach. So, like, how do you approach user feedback and market trends when it comes to like incorporating new ideas for ThinkPad?
Yeah, and Dilip is probably the best person to talk to. And actually, so when I took this role in 2012, I worked for Dilip. So he had my boss's role back then, and then he's evolved into our champion of customer experience. But I think actually customer feedback is one of the areas where we definitely are. I think we lead in the industry, especially in the commercial industry. We have so many customer touch points. I mean, the Leaps team manages. We have these big data analysis tools that we use. We have surveys that go out to customers. I think it's 60 days after they purchase a system. So we get this purchase feedback, and then we have scraping tools that scrape all of the feedback from all of the, not only just our forums, but all of the websites and some large language processing models to take that information. And then we have customer advisory councils. So I just returned from with Dilip in EMEA. We have our annual customer advisory forum every June. My boss Tom just came back from Shanghai, where we had an AP customer advisory forum, and we probably do 5 or 6 of those every year. So where we get our biggest customers in a room, and not just our current customers, but customers who aren't buying, acquisition customers. So we get that source of feedback, and then we do a lot of beta testing, right? So we try to touch as many ways as possible to get the customer feedback, and from what we hear, we do a pretty good job of it. But it's never enough, right? I mean, we ship so many things. It's hard to touch every customer and get their feedback, but we try as hard as we can. Yeah.
So, like, staying in the same line of like customers, right? So, as the new generation starts entering the workforce, uh, you've got there's a lot of competition in, say, the premium commercial laptop segment, and obviously with Gen Z now starting to enter the work field, are there like any cool new innovations or specific approaches that Lenovo is taking to like hook Gen Z and try to get them on the ThinkPad?
Yeah, that is the $1 million question, right? They are definitely. I mean, I know what the statistics are, but I think greater than 50% of the workforce by next year, right? I mean, they're not just Gen Z, millennials as well, but Gen Z is definitely a force now, and it's been on our horizon, I think, for the last 5 years. How are we going to address this? And so we've approached it. So we've had several products that we're approaching it, I would say, 2 ways. A, we're trying to talk to them and have a conversation with them. So we have a whole dedicated marketing organization, which, their role is try to help us have conversations and to talk to that audience, right? Which is, different than our historical audience, right? And you see it more on the consumer side, but for the commercial side, we're also trying to engage with that segment, both, through marketing, but then also through product. So I think in the last 4 years, we've introduced several new products. I would say we've probably taken the most aggressive evolution of our product design in the last 5 years, where we've introduced several new products just specifically trying to address the Gen Z audience. And so, for probably the most obvious 2 would be, I would say, the Z series, right? So our ThinkPad Z13 and Z16, right, which entirely new kind of look and feel, trying to target a different user who hasn't really used a ThinkPad before, right? And some of the elements around Z series, where it had much more higher sustainability features. So the recycled content, it was also aluminum, right? So historically, if we have, you know, a black chassis, now we've started to introduce more, I would say, metal and aluminum type chassis. So to expand, as well as we also have a vegan leather A cover, as well as a recycled flaxseed cover, right? So trying to introduce a little, you know, more forward leaning concepts, as well as much more sustainable, right? Because I think sustainability is important just in general for our industry, but it's also very important, I think, for Gen Z. So so Z series was really important, and then our folding PC, although I wouldn't say it's necessarily directly targeted at millennials, it's interesting enough to drive a conversation, right? So those are probably two of the biggest innovations. But Z series was specifically designed to really attract that user base.
Like, so since you touched on sustainability specifically, like you said, it's becoming an increasingly important factor today, and today's buyers are also a lot more concerned about sustainability. So, like, would you like to go a little bit deeper into how Lenovo is building laptops that are better for the planet?
Yeah, it's well, it's a difficult proposition to build electronics that are better for the planet, right? So, but we've taken a really, I would say, aggressive approach in trying to. I mean, Lenovo has corporate standards, right? Which, you know, in terms of carbon neutrality and all of the goals that we have there, but specifically from a product standpoint, I would say, even especially starting in the generation with Z series, which was, I think, 3 years ago, we've really focused on the entire circular nature of the product, right, from concept to end of life. But so we've improved sustainable materials and recycled materials, so much more recycled aluminum, recycled magnesium. Even in our latest X1 carbon, we have recycled carbon fiber that we're using in the A cover. That actually they're parts that came off the floor of the Boeing factories, right? When they're making airplane parts, we take the scrap and we then use that in some of the parts in the X1. So materials is really important. Packaging. So we actually went completely plastic free in our packaging. I think it's been 2 years now. So we are definitely leading, I would say, the commercial industry and the industry in terms of packaging, completely plastic free. And it's interesting because if you look at the actual carbon footprint of a product, the packaging is not really a huge part of it because electronics are so, you know, using energy. However, you know, you've got to recycle all that materials and you've got to get rid of it. So we paid a huge attention to the materials. We even have a rapid compostable bamboo box that we ship with some of our more premium products as a gift box, which is really cool. And then we're focused on repairability. So this last year we completely clean sheeted our T series and our L series, and in partnership with iFixit, we now have repairability, so you can really get into the system and if you want to upgrade it or repair it over time, so it'll last longer, you can even recycle it within your organization. So focused on that. And then we offer a CO2 service as well, offset service, right? So if you want to buy carbon offsets as a customer to do that, we also offer that available for our customers. So a huge focus on sustainability. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of interesting points. I like definitely something to, like, a lot of people are taking into consideration. So it's nice to see that Lenovo is doing its part. Uh, Coming back to like Lenovo laptops, ThinkPads. So you guys collaborate a lot with other technology companies, be it Microsoft or whoever it is. So are there any recent collaborations that have influenced ThinkPad's, recent developments or upcoming features that you can talk about?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, so we have so many partners and so many great partners. I mean, so the most obvious one recently is, I would say, Qualcomm and Microsoft, right? So we recently launched the first Copilot Plus ThinkPad PC, right? So the T14S Gen 6, which is powered by Qualcomm's new Snapdragon X Elite processor, right? So we're starting to introduce these new neural processing units into the technology, right? So this is the first one with 40 plus tops. So now we've been working with with Qualcomm for over 10 years, and even just in commercial for 5 years. But this is really the first of the next generation of AI PCs. So they've got the technology powering this new product, and then of course Microsoft bringing the new operating system for Copilot Plus PC, and this new completely disruptive path into AI and Gen AI PCs on device, right? So we've had cloud accessibility and cloud AI already coming, but now we're getting into this on device. So that's the most recent one, obviously. So with Qualcomm and Microsoft, but then Intel, AMD, all these ISV partners, we've got extensive partnerships that we really help us to fuel our innovation. Plus a little competition between all of them doesn't hurt anybody, right? It really helps to just raise the bar for everyone, which is a great thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So like speaking of AI, like that's the current buzzword, the current trend. Uh, is there like any new or emerging trends that you see upcoming that you think will change or shape the future of what ThinkPad will become like in the future?
Yeah, I think, well, so we talked a little bit about sustainability. We're very focused on accessibility, right? So some of the changes that we've made around accessibility we have a brand new keyboard that we introduced, which has tactile markings on it, which we actually partnered with the North Carolina School of the Blind to help develop this technology to really improve accessibility. We've got our new communication bar, which helps with one-handed opening. So I would say sustainability, accessibility, but really, I mean, AI, right? So every day we're immersed in AI, and it's actually, having been in this industry now for 24 years, I would say this is the most exciting time I can think of, right? In the 24 years, it really feels like there's a seminal change coming in personal computing and how we compute and how we interact with our systems, right? And we're just beginning to scratch the surface, right? So having just launched this Copilot Plus PC, but as we look at it, there's three P's that we look at. There's personalization, there's productivity, and there's protection, right? So we feel like AI is really going to make the PC more personal, and some of the ways it's going to do that we still don't even know, right? But it's going to on-device capabilities are going to allow your device to be much more tailored to you and your voice or your needs or your data, which I think is really exciting. I think it's going to really ramp up productivity. Just having been in some of the betas for Office 365 Copilot, the things that are capable, just from managing things that used to take a lot of time. We see a huge time benefit back to employees and end users, and then protecting it, right? I mean, the security threats are massive, right? And we think that AI will really have a benefit from a security standpoint. So yeah, AI is all day, every day right now, and we're really excited to see where it goes. I don't know if you have any opinions on it, but yeah, it's going to be really interesting.
So something that I used to think about. So initially we had all of the AI computing happening on the cloud. So you could say that your local hardware didn't need to be as powerful, but now that it's on the edge and it's happening locally on your system itself, suddenly there's a need for your system's hardware to be powerful enough to be able to perform those AI tasks. So do you think that that kind of shift could affect where we see our personal computing going in the future?
In terms of how much computing is required on the system.
Yeah, like locally.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, yes. So I think going forward, we're just starting to ship systems with NPUs and powerful NPUs, but I think that we will have, sometimes I have to stop and think what year we're in, because we're constantly working in the future. So I think by 2026, pretty much everything will have an onboard NPU, right? And it will be, a powerful NPU. And I think by that time, we'll also have extensive applications and use cases that are able to leverage that NPU, right? Whether it's an on-device LLM, right? So that you can use to keeping, understanding and using your data on the device in combination with the cloud. I think that's where computing is headed, right? And then I think we're still starting to, like I said, unlock those use cases. But just the on-device LLMs are and the things that they bring, whether it's knowledge workers or code development, there's extensive things that are going to be unlocked. And there are cases where companies are reluctant to put a lot of their IP up into the cloud. So there are definite times and use cases where they want to keep it local, right? And I think this allows them this hybrid solution, right, between having some access to the cloud, but also having some just local on your device, which is going to be really powerful. And we're already in extensive betas with some of our biggest customers on how they're going to use it. I had an email this morning about a customer who's already doing this code development, using the new X Elite processor, and it's running on the NPU, and they're ecstatic about it. So, yeah, it's going to change quickly.
Yeah. I mean, it has already. I think the past 2 years we've seen some crazy growth in this space.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's about all the questions from my side, Adam. If you have anything else that you would like to add, please go ahead.
No, I don't think so. I appreciate the time, and we always happy to get your feed on what's happening in the industry, and I think your questions were right on par with what we see going on. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time as well.
All right, thanks, Manish.